Hey, I'm Blake Giles.
I'm Jim Hardin.
It's Sidelines.
And Headlines.
And we're here to talk about the national championship game, Indiana defeating Miami. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's just as ranking it as a game. Where do you put it, Jim?
I think it was a good solid 8. I thought it was a good game.
I thought so too. I mean, it's not like it was a offensive showcase, but two evenly matched teams. Very physical game it's hard to tell that sometimes from television, but it looked like this was a hard-knock game. Officials didn't call much. They let them play, and it was very brutal, and went down to the last 30 seconds, in effect, before we knew who was going to win. So you can't really ask for much better than that as far as a showcase for the fans.
You sent me the stats today. The stats were sort of even. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a good close game. You know, nowadays with the way football is and offense, we think it's not a good game unless it goes down the wire and it's 45 to 43 or something. But I thought it was a good game. Like you said, a lot of physical, old school kind of in your face kind of slobber knocking going on.
Did the best team win?
I think so. What do you think?
Well, I think the best team won, but I'm not sure that Miami could not have easily won that football game.
Well, they could have. I don't understand the interception, how that even happened.
Well, looking at the play and looking at reviewing it later, they lined up on the right hash mark, and the left side of the field was virtually empty, and they had the one receiver that went deep. Well, they didn't have anybody else come out underneath to keep that cornerback occupied, and so
It's almost like he was double covered.
yeah. And so if they had somebody come out on the other side, it would have been an easy completion, you think, and they could have gotten further down the field. I hate it for Carson Beck that it ended that way. I mean, it's going to haunt him for a while, I'm sure. But of course, Bryce Young, he got over it, and he's doing well in the NFL now. So who knows?
Did you see he was getting a little criticism? I wasn't paying attention. He kind of walked off the field.
Yeah, I heard something about that. And, I'm thinking, here's a guy who's playing for the national championship, and it just suddenly the dream vanishes. I don't know that I expect him to be running out on the field, glad-handing everybody. He's super disappointed. I don't really knock him down too much for that.
Well, I agree with that. I heard some people also today saying that he was they felt like the narrative around Carson Beck from, Herb Street and Chris Fowler and the game day guys was that he had endured some kind of terrible misfortune at Georgia.
Yeah, the guy, I mean, what misfortune did he have at Georgia? I mean, he played in, won 2 national championships, in effect. He played for a SEC championship as the starter, was on an SEC champion even after he got hurt. I mean, I don't see it that way, that he had any kind of great hardships here.
Well, I agree with you on both those counts. I mean, I don't necessarily. I mean, there's a line there between kind of pouting when you lose and not being, showing some being graceful about being a graceful loser, and then, but also, I don't think he had some great hardship. Do we look at these kids a little different now overall? Now that we know in the back of their mind they're getting paid.
I don't know that I've really looked at them differently yet. Here's what I do look at differently is that the guys like Carson Beck, who've been around college football so long. I mean, he's been in the SEC longer than Billy Napier was in the SEC as a head coach.
That's
right. And so he's been here forever. And you look at the Indiana team loaded up with transfers and had guys in their 5th and 6th year. These guys, they're young men now. And so I look at them, they're not teenagers trying to win. They've gone from being boys to men. And so I look at them like that in a sense. And I think you can evaluate them based on their more maturity that they've developed and look at them in that way.
Well, we've kind of beat the drum all year about how the transfer portal and all that NIL's changed things. And we said, we talked a lot about Indiana being a team of guys that didn't start off at Indiana. And we talked about how, maybe in the old days when the team spent 3-4 years together, the guys did, there was more of an intangible chemistry there. But I heard a lot of talk last night about what great chemistry they had as a team and how they loved each other and were playing for each other. And
well, there's things that coaches can do to build the unity of a team. And it's becoming something they have to do now every year. I've seen it with college baseball and college basketball where you have almost fruit basket turnover every year, and you have to quickly forge 12, 13, 14 guys on a basketball team and 30 to 40 on a baseball team and try to form some type of identity and connection. And of course, even in football, it's more complicated, more people. Now, you do have more holdover. There is more culture that stays with a team typically, so you've got some holdover. But yeah, it's kudos to Curt Cignetti for being able to forge a unified team format with a bunch of new guys coming in. But he'd have to do it every year.
He's going to have to do it again next year.
Yeah.
I heard a couple of interesting things today. The last time a program won its first national championship.
I do know this. 1996, University of Florida
the Gators, yeah,
won its first national championship. And now Indiana's joined an elite club that's a pretty small club. We used to talk about and looking at who could win a national championship. You could probably take off your shoes and count on your fingers and toes the number of programs across the country you thought had a legitimate chance to win a national championship. And you weren't ever counting Indiana among those teams. But now it's a new era. The NIL and the portal has really flattened the landscape. The two combined have revolutionized what's going on with college football. And has it made the sport healthier or unhealthier? It certainly made it more competitive, more evenly matched. Somebody next year is going to come out of the pack and emerge as a team to beat that maybe we didn't expect it would be.
And we're going to be going to the games, talking about it. You're going to be wearing your Georgia gear.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's going to be, in many ways, the same way it's always been.
Yeah. So the Indiana-Miami game, 27-21 final, Indiana, if one aspect of it was special teams play, how critical that was, it represented a 10-point swing against Miami. They had a field goal doink off the upright, and then they gave up the block punt touchdown. Well, that's 10 points in a 6-point game. Now, if they don't give up if they score the field goal and don't give up the block punt, that doesn't mean they win, but the game plays out differently than it did. So, but again, it just shows the critical nature of special teams.
Gosh, in a game like that, you just couldn't believe it. What did you think about Mendoza's performance?
Yeah, I thought he played a fine game. They really, the TV announcers really hyped him up as being heroic and all, and he got knocked around more than Carson Beck did.
He did.
I noticed he finished up, his stats were final 16 for 27 for 169 yards. And there was a point before the last drive where Beck had identical numbers, 16 for 27, a few more yards. And he wound up being 19 for 32.
He had more yards.
With the one interception. Beck threw for 342 yards and Mendoza for 317 yards. So yes, he threw the interception on last play, but I wouldn't say that Carson Beck lost the game. He lost that play, and that was the decisive play. But here's a question I have for you. We've got right up here on this wall here a picture of Herschel Walker diving over the Notre Dame line in the 1981 Sugar Bowl. That was the definitive play of that game. If you look back to the 2021 championship where Georgia beat Alabama, the definitive play would be Keely Ringo's interception and pick six, which is down here. Exactly. What would you say was the definitive play of the Miami-Indiana game?
the Mendoza run for the touchdown.
That's what's going to stand out is the Mendoza run for the touchdown on the, was it a fourth down call? It was, yeah, they were going to kick a field goal, call timeout. And I think that's going to stand out, but I really think the block kick is the definitive play. I mean, if that kick is not blocked.
Totally different.
Yeah, and I looking at replays, Indiana was not in a punt rush. They were basically in a punt safe. Somebody, one of those three guys, it looked like, up there on the blocking, could have easily just stepped to the right and bumped that. That was the guy's name was, the block punt was by Mikael Kamara, bumped him aside, and they could have got the punt off. But they didn't, and so they gave up 7 points. And, you know, it's just hard to win games when you give up block punt touchdowns.
Again, I can't believe that happens in a, and I just don't think that was going to happen. You know, people, you know, you don't want to be too cliche about it, but I don't think that was going to happen to Indiana. They didn't make a lot of mistakes.
They didn't. Coach Dooley always said you got to be sound first, and Indiana proved to be a sound football team. However, they had a chance to win the game with about 1:50 to play, and that false start extended the outcome because, yes, they kicked the field goal after that and went up, but it gave Miami that
was
chance
critical. You're right.
To come down the field and score. So, yes, they made a mistake too, but it wound up they were able to bail themselves out of the play with the interception at the end of the game. So, but yeah, it was the first half. It's a game of two halves.
Oh, yeah.
Indiana just dominated the first half.
I thought there was a couple points there in the first half when they were just going to kind of muscle and just take control of the game completely, but they couldn't.
I wrote down this note. It looked like Miami was dying a slow death.
Yeah.
They just 3 and out. They couldn't get anything going. And Indiana, while was not dominant offensively, they were getting longer drives, controlling the clock, keeping their offense on the field longer. And it just looked like they're just going to slowly ebb away, and they're going to look up when the score's going to be 35-6 or something like that.
I thought that too, and that again, you got to kind of. It's not as we don't think it's exciting unless there's 40-something points to play. But there were some head knocking.
Oh yeah,
on some of that running game when Indiana was. When they were on offense, those guys, that running back, he's got a metal plate in his head, I think.
Black and Hamby, they ran the ball a combined total of 36 times and picked up, 150 yards, which is okay. Now, Fletcher by himself for Miami, he carried the ball 17 times for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had the big 57-yard run.
But if you watch close, those are some tough yards.
Oh, they were.
Indiana guys
they were. Neither team really got the running game super established. I looked up Miami finished with 110 yards rushing and Indiana with 131. Now, the way they do it in the college, of course, they subtract the sack yardage from that. And Mendoza was sacked 3 times. Beck was only sacked 1 time.
Yep.
So, did you see the halftime interview with Cignetti?
I did.
Where he was complaining about they weren't calling the personal fouls on hitting the quarterback. What do you think?
If I was him, I'd have probably said the same thing. But I kind of like them letting them play. I think they protect the quarterbacks a little bit too much. I mean, the play that looked kind of blatant where they hit him and his lip started bleeding that the announcers were talking about. I mean, what if he'd have pulled it and ran?
Yeah.
There's quarterbacks can still do that.
Yeah. The thing that the pass interference was rarely called in this game. It looked like there were a lot of times on both sides they could have called pass interference.
As we've talked about in the past, I don't understand what pass interference
I know.
is
They let them play too physical. Sometimes in basketball, they have to dial it back. They have to start calling things to return to the purity of the game, so to speak.
Yep.
And it looks like they just let defensive backs get away, and receivers for that matter, get away with a lot more than they should. And I think they ought to call more than they do.
Well, the problem is that it seems like they're not consistent, to me.
Well, and how many guys are watching pass interference back there on that in the secondary? You got the two deep guys, you got linemen, you got a guy in the middle of the field. Maybe there's just not enough eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have 5 eligible receivers. You can't watch all 5 of them at one time. So it's inevitable you're going to miss some plays, I guess.
Did you see the Mendoza won the Heisman? He's a quarterback. He won the Heisman and won the national championship. I was surprised that there hadn't been as many of those as I thought they were. You know who the last one was? It was an easy one, Joe Burrow.
Okay.
And then
was Florida's quarterback
Werfel did.
Yeah, Danny Werfel.
And then Charlie Ward did.
No. Did Charlie Ward win the Heisman?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. He didn't play. That's what he didn't play NFL football. That's what it was. He went to the NBA instead.
I'm trying to think. There's one I'm forgetting. It was fairly. It was
Jameis Winston. Did he?
Jameis Winston did.
Okay.
He did.
Yeah. And it's
those are about the only ones in the last 30 years.
Yeah. Now, of course, there have been other position players who won the Heisman on national championship teams.
I'm sorry, we left out
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton did.
That's right. Exactly. So that's an interesting double feat. This is a guy Mendoza who we had heard of him before this year, but he certainly wasn't a household name.
They kept saying he's going to be the number 1 guy picked in the draft. Is that because of this, the Heisman, the national championship, the whatever?
Are the Raiders, they have the number 1 pick? Well, it could be a factor of the Raiders need a quarterback.
Yeah, I guess so.
It could just be that's why he's going to be the number 1.
But do you think, my thing is do we all get, even the people who are supposed to know what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, they get a little bit caught up in the hype and the image, the kind of the kingmaker, whatever they've turned him into? I mean, do you think he's going to be a great pro quarterback? We never know.
Yeah, it's right. That's the $64,000 question. It's one of those most difficult positions to evaluate for moving from one level to the next, even from high school to college. I mean, Mendoza, coming out of high school, was not considered off the charts. I mean, Gunnar Stockton had a higher quarterback rating than Mendoza did out of high school. And now you go to college, through the pros. Is Mendoza, does he have what it takes to, in the colleges you throw to open receivers, and in the NFL you throw receivers open.
Yeah.
And you reading defenses, they don't make as many mistakes in the pros as they do in the college, and it's just a much more sophisticated game, and some people just don't adjust. I mean, Justin Fields is a classic example as a high school quarterback. I mean, he was all world. And then it took him a while, and finally he found his footing a little bit at Ohio State. But he's 4 or 5 years into his NFL career, and I don't think he's really found himself yet as a quarterback.
Well, kind of the ultimate example of what you're talking about is Tom Brady. Nobody thought he was coming out of Michigan. He was going to be the guy.
What was he, a 3rd round choice, something like that? Yeah.
But
and of course, then you look at Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, the last guy taken in the draft, and now he's been the starter and gotten the 49ers into the playoffs numerous times. And, except for an injury, maybe he gets them to the Super Bowl another time. So you just don't know. Then the other side of that is Matt Stafford. Great high school quarterback, great college quarterback, great pro quarterback. Some people, you can tell.
Well, who knows what Carson Beck's, what's really going on in his head. People like to criticize him for whatever, probably stuff that doesn't have anything to do with football. But to me, he looks like the guy I'd want to be my quarterback.
I think he's got, I remember, I thought that C.J. Stroud coming out of college was a guy you'd want to draft. And of course, his fresh rookie year with the Houston Texans, he really looked like the real deal. Now, he didn't play as well this year, although that pass he made to get him into overtime for the Bears was just pure athleticism. The guy's throwing the ball 60 yards in the air for a touchdown, running on his back foot, off his back foot. He's got a lot of potential.
Well, I think we saw two quarterbacks last night they'll do something in the NFL. They'll get a chance. And probably depending on what team they're on, and probably some factors that are beyond their control. But maybe the Falcons will draft back.
We'll talk about the Falcons in a little bit here. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about in this game. I tell you one thing. I thought Georgia fans could relate to both teams. They could relate to Indiana in the fact that in 2021, Georgia finally got over the hump and broke the long drought and won that championship with a win over Alabama. But you could go back to 2017 when they could taste a victory over Alabama, and Tua Tagovailoa threw it to Devontae Adams or at 2nd and 26 and just snatched victory right away. And just like that, it disappeared. And Miami was so close to getting that. I feel like Georgia fans can relate to how they feel as well. So,
well, what do you think? I heard someone talking about this today. What do you think Kirby, the Georgia staff, they're wherever they are watching it. What do you think they take from that? This whole transfer portal cycle and kind of where they finished, where the SEC and kind of where everybody else is. What do you think they take into the offseason?
Well, it looks like Indiana has purposely said we're going to try to get guys who are older and more mature, and we can coach them up, and we can prove that a 24-year-old 3-star is better than a 19-year-old 5-star just because of physical strength and maturity. And that's their mindset. Now, Georgia still puts an emphasis on high school recruiting. I mean, they finished 3rd in the country, I think, this year with high school recruiting, even after losing the number 1 recruit in the country to Vanderbilt at the 11th hour. So they still finished high. And so they still value bringing in excellent talent. But you cannot discount the value of the portal. And we saw that with Zachariah Branch this year. What he added as a receiver to Georgia's offense was invaluable.
Yeah, what if they hadn't had him?
I know. Where would we have been? No telling. I mean, he was our Malachi Tony in effect.
He's a little bit similar to him.
They're very similar. So I think it's yet to be determined exactly whether this is the new mode. Now, one thing we have to think about is phasing out the COVID factor. This was still, I think, maybe the last year where we had any COVID players still involved. The guys that got an extra year.
7 years of eligibility.
So that's going to kind of disappear, and so we'll see how that plays out. But I think it's yet to be determined exactly which way it will go.
Well, we'll have a long time to talk about it between now and next year. Unfortunately, we're done with it. But do you think, what's your way too early? Where do you think Georgia is on the pecking order next year going into this season right now?
Well, I look at, they finished up ranked number 6, preseason ranked number 5. So they finished up about where they started. And if I had to say the next year's preseason poll is going to come out and Georgia's going to be ranked 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that range is where they're going to be ranked. Because they got enough players coming back and they got enough talent coming in. They have an experienced quarterback and they have Kirby Smart and most of his staff. And so I think they'll still get highly ranked. The schedule is less difficult, still difficult, but less difficult than it was this year. And so maybe that, except we are playing an extra conference game, but everybody else in the conference is playing an extra conference game too. So I think they're going to be ranked up there in the top 5 or 6.
Well, you were telling me you were looking at where some teams were ranked preseason, and I took that a step further. Go through.
Here's the number 1 team in the preseason was Texas, and Texas finished up ranked number 12. Certainly a disappointing finish for them, but maybe the most disappointing team was the team ranked number 2 and that was Penn State. And they got their coach fired. They didn't play in the conference championship game, didn't get into the playoffs. I mean, they came close to beating Indiana. That would have made their season if they'd beaten Indiana. But they were ranked number 2. And here's other teams. Clemson, ranked 4th in the preseason, and just fell apart right away. I mean, they just limped into the season. Beat South Carolina, who was another one, ranked 13th.
Yeah, we were sitting there thinking South Carolina might make some noise again.
Also, LSU ranked number 9 in the preseason. Remember Clemson versus LSU opening weekend, 4 versus 9. We thought that was a heavyweight matchup. It was 2 bad teams.
2 bad teams, yeah.
Then we had Arizona State last year in the playoffs, ranked number 11, didn't make it in the top 25. Illinois ranked 12th, had a decent season, went to a bowl game, but didn't finish in the top 25. Florida ranked 15th. I think we drank the Kool-Aid on the finish of the 24 season on Florida too much and thought that was going to lead them into this year. And they just didn't have it. And of course, Napier lost his job, and Lagway's now headed to Baylor University. SMU, playoff team, ranked 16th preseason, fell out. Kansas State, number 17 preseason, they were not ranked. Iowa State, number 22. Tennessee, number 24. And Boise State, 25. Those were other teams that were ranked that did not finish the year ranked.
Tennessee did not finish ranked.
Tennessee did not finish ranked. The number 1 team was Indiana, of course, and Miami was number 2. And then you had the 3rd team, Ole Miss. Now, was Ole Miss the 3rd best team in the country, do you think?
Is that what the final ranking?
Final ranking. Ole Miss, Oregon, number 4. And Ohio State, 5.
That might be one of those, might not be the best, but you probably earned the right to be number 3.
Yeah. Then you got Georgia 6, Texas Tech finished number 7. They were ranked 23 at the beginning of the year. Texas A&M went from 19 to 8, but it had to be a disappointing end of the season for them, the way they were undefeated and lost their last 2 games. Alabama started the year ranked 8th, finished the year ranked 9th. That's too high for Alabama. I don't think they're the 9th best team in the country.
The way they got beat by Indiana.
Notre Dame was ranked 6th in the preseason, finished up ranked 10th. Could be. Then you got BYU, Texas, Oklahoma, Utah, Vandy, Virginia, Iowa, Tulane, James Madison, Southern Cal ranked 20th, Michigan 21, Houston 22, then Navy, North Texas State, and TCU round out the top 25. So if you look at that, which of those last 10 teams I mentioned could be next year's Indiana?
No idea.
Yeah, we don't have any idea. I mean, Vanderbilt's got to replace Diego Pavio, and then Virginia. I don't know what they got. Iowa, Tulane.
I'm sure people are going to, and I think you said they finished 8th, but I think people will be predicting Texas Tech because
they finished 7th.
People are probably saying they got a lot of money and whatever.
So where is this money going to keep coming from? Charles Barkley talked about that on a Instagram post I saw this week. He said, I've given money to Auburn over the years, and I'm going to keep giving them money. But if they think I'm going to give them millions of dollars every year so they can have a good sports team, they got another thing coming.
I've heard him say that too.
So Indiana has a sugar daddy, the former Dallas Mavericks owner, whose name escapes me, internet guru, who's on TV these days.
Yeah, my son got a selfie with him at Sea Island. Gosh, why can't I think of his name? I'll think of it in a second.
Yeah, and then Oklahoma State used to have Boone Pickens. Texas Tech has their own oil baron to underwrite them. But can they underwrite this?
Mark Cuban.
Can Mark Cuban write big checks every year?
Well, they said, I didn't realize, I tried to look it up and I didn't really see it. Somebody joked, I don't know if they were joking or serious, that John Cougar Mellencamp was a big Indiana donor. And then I noticed he's going on tour, so maybe he's trying to raise some more money. But
Look, if the schools can take the money they get from their TV contracts and use that to pay the players, that's fine. Then that's a sustainable flow of income. But can they sustain donor money to that level? I mean, if you have a big capital project, we're going to build a $60 million facility. Well, that's a short-term project. You have a short-term campaign. You raise the money, you build the project, and you're done. Labor costs are every year.
No.
You have to raise that money every year. Here's what could happen. Will it ever get to the point they say, well, we can't afford to pay our coach $14 million a year anymore. We have to cut him back to $9 million. We have to use that $5 million somewhere else. I don't know. Nobody likes to take those kind of cuts and go backwards.
Well, I don't. As it relates to a lot of things in life, I can't. Sometimes when people talk about big money, whatever, I can't fathom those dollars.
They're somewhere in a stratosphere far removed from where you and I live.
That's right, and that's my point. Not only in athletics, but in other things. But you're right. I don't know. Well, where do you? You looked at the rankings. You obviously got Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma,
Texas A&M,
Ole Miss,
were up there high. Alabama finished 9th. Vanderbilt 15.
Well, I tell you, I'm kind of asking the question. I think Texas and Georgia are going to be good, and I hate to say it, but I expect LSU to be better.
I do too.
I'm not buying at this point. I'm just not sure about Ole Miss, A&M.
Well, they did get Saxby Chambliss. He's coming. I mean, not Saxby. Trinidad Chambliss. He's coming back, isn't he?
Well, did they win the appeal?
I thought they did. I thought the court overturned and said he can come back.
I don't know. I should know the answer to that. I know initially they said they ruled against him, but I think you're right. I saw something, but I thought it was not correct what I saw that he was.
Yeah. Well,
that's a big deal, though.
It is. It is.
Just
it's
for continuity,
huge,
and the guy's a great player.
And it's a big deal for him. He's going to make more money next year at Ole Miss than he would have made as a rookie in the NFL.
Exactly.
And I, frankly, at 5'10", 5'11", whatever his height is, I wonder about his future anyway. I mean, you look at what Doug Flutie did in the NFL. It was tough for him to compete at that level.
He's a little bit of a Bryce Young guy. And I guess Bryce Young's doing okay. But
yeah, but he's about 2 inches taller. Bryce Young is. He's at least 6 feet tall. This guy's 5'10", I've read, and Stetson Bennett size. Stetson was 5'11", I think.
Yeah.
So and even you look at Gunnar Stockton, 6'1". We saw how many passes he got knocked down.
It was almost like the defenses learned. They get their hands up, they were going to knock some of his balls down. So.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about the Southeastern Conference. This is the third straight year that the Big Ten has won the national championship. Is the Big Ten now the best conference in the country?
No. I don't think so. I think Indiana's a little bit of an outlier, what they've done. And they may keep doing it, and they'll still kind of be an outlier. If they do it the next 5 years, that'll be an unbelievable whatever. Other than Ohio State, who do we really...
Well, you certainly think that Michigan has demonstrated they can win. Yeah. And, of course, they got to get their house in order, and they had tremendous turmoil up there, and Whittingham may be the guy to do it. Washington and Oregon also are programs that have demonstrated they can win at a high level. Southern Cal has done so. We forget they're in the Big Ten, and they've done so in the past. And Lincoln Riley has been a guy who's won. So maybe they can rise to the top again. And
I wouldn't say the SEC is. I think the SEC might have had I was about to say had a down year, but did they? I mean, look at the playoff.
Well, we get 5 teams into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Georgia, LSU, Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, those teams all are right there. I don't think all 5 of them are going to be in the final 8 next year. But I think those programs, you throw them all in there, they got more potential than those Big Ten teams.
Maybe Texas A&M can be in that conversation too. They had a great season this year, but until they've done it 2 or 3 years in a row, I don't think they belong in the same conversation with the teams that you mentioned. So we'll see. I'm like you. The SEC is not. They're not desperate right now, and they still have the culture at all the schools. They still have big TV contracts. They have enough money. It's just they have more competition now. There's just more teams that you're having to compete with. And, if you look at, I think college baseball has been a classic example. There's nobody can be a real dynasty in college baseball. Vanderbilt has come close. Oregon State has come close. LSU has come close. Arkansas's never won a national championship. It's been good, really good for a number of years. But you look at the national champions, it seems like it's somebody different every year. And even a team like Coastal Carolina can come in there and put something together and win the national championship. And it's going to be that way in football now.
As you said earlier, there are going to be 1 or 2 or 3 teams that we're going to be scratching our head saying, how'd they do that this time next year?
All right. We've heard a lot of talk about the SEC and Big Ten cannot agree on expanding to a 16-team playoff next year. Are you disappointed?
I'm fine with it like it is.
I am too. Now here's what I would like to change the calendar. What is today? January the 21st that we're recording this? We'd still be 5 or 6 days away from the final championship game next year. The game it's not going to be finished up till January 26th, I think, next year. That's just too late.
It is.
They got to figure out a way to compress the schedule.
And there are other aspects of the calendar they need to figure out too, not just the games, but not just the schedule.
The transfer portal calendar, the recruiting calendar. It must be hard to have a family life as a college football coach because there's always something that is pressing that you've got to address right now.
That's right. Always a sense of urgency every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I guess you saw where Georgia went out and recruited another quarterback.
I saw that, and we were talking earlier. You wonder. You would think they're pretty solid at quarterback next year.
Well, they already had. If you count Hezekiah Millender, who was the Clark Central player, who was way down on the depth chart, they had 4 quarterbacks already in their quarterback room. You had Gunnar Stockton, obviously, then Ryan Puglisi is back up, and then Ryan Montgomery. Then you get to Millender. Well, now they're bringing in Bryson Beaver from California, who was signed to go to Oregon. And then when Oregon's Dante Moore decided to come back, and then they signed Dylan Raiola, he kind of saw the handwriting on the wall. And even though he had enrolled early at Oregon, he put himself in as a short-term transfer. I think he counts on the Georgia recruiting list more than he does on the portal list, whichever. But he's a guy who was, 15th or 16th quarterback in the country. I don't know much about him, whether he's a passer or runner or dual threat. But they decided they needed to get somebody else in that room.
Well, I don't know if it's Kirby, Bobo, Monken, whatever, but throughout Kirby's tenure, they've been pretty solid at quarterback the whole time. And I don't know, is there a little bit, I always thought that, Saban was very fortunate. He had a great string of quarterbacks, and I'm not sure it was anything he did. He just sort of was fortunate.
Right.
And, again, Georgia's going to be solid next year with Gunnar, barring any kind of injury. But you wonder, every time, just like transitioning from Carson to Gunnar, where does it, where are you? We talked about how Dabo Swinney was a lot better head coach when he had Trevor Lawrence and whatever the guy is, Deshaun Watson, than he was without him. So, and it probably wasn't much he did teaching those guys how to play quarterback. He was just fortunate to have him on his roster.
So Georgia is bringing in a running back, though, Dante Dowdell from Kentucky.
Yep.
And I think that's a good move because Coach Dooley always said you can never have too many running backs. And they did lose Robinson in the portal. They thought they were going to lose Frazier for a little bit, but he decided to come back. And I think that's a real critical position. They only got one freshman coming in, Jay Lamar out of Colquitt County down in Moultrie. Is the only freshman that I'm aware of coming in. So that's a position to watch next year, is how they do with the running back position.
Yeah, Coach Dooley believed in those running backs, and he had Rodney Hampton, Lars Tate. He had 4 future NFL guys on the team.
He had Cleveland Gary, Lars Tate, Tim Worley, and Keith Henderson all on the team at one time. And Cleveland Gary wound up transferring and playing at Miami before it was all over with. But yeah, those are.
And Rodney Hampton came, and
I don't know if Rodney was there at the same time those guys were. I can't remember. Squab Jones, you remember Squab? Mm-hmm. Squab always told me that Rodney Hampton was one of the most underrated running backs Georgia ever had. So he was among the best among them all. And so it was. Coach Dooley always wanted to have a lot of running backs on his roster because they take so many hits. And of course, the way he played the game, the ball went to the running backs a lot, as opposed to passing and receivers. But that's the way he did it. Well, let's talk a little bit of NFL.
Wow.
What do you think about the Falcons hire?
Well, I thought when I first heard it, I was like, they did it. They Falconed again.
Yeah.
Look at his record over the last couple of years. Then I learned more about it. I heard some people talk. Heard Brian Finneran talking on the morning show in Atlanta, and of course Finneran's and big buddies with Matt Ryan. I guess Matt Ryan was involved very heavily in the decision, so he's probably going to defend him. But I've heard a lot of people say, you had the success he had, which wasn't a lot in Cleveland. Everything's relative. Bill Belichick had a losing record in Cleveland.
Sure, that's
he
right.
did.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand. You look at some of these teams in the playoffs. I was thinking about this watching the Broncos play. That organization from day one has been better than the Falcons. The Falcons would never have a Sean Payton be their coach,
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Payton wasn't Sean Payton when he first started coaching. I mean, he coached for the Saints and all that stuff, but I don't know. It's just disappointing. Why?
I was just nonplussed, underwhelmed by the hire, and just kind of mystified. I kind of think, well, maybe there's a offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator out there. Maybe you take a chance on. And he turns out to be the next great thing, but that's not the Falcons' way, and so we'll see. I mean, they got decent personnel. We'll see what they do next year, but
you got to have your quarterback situation has got to be. I mean, whatever happens, their quarterback situation is going to be messed up. If Penix comes back, we're all going to be worried he's going to get hurt the next play.
Speaking of quarterbacks getting hurt, what a tragic result for Bo Nix with Denver.
Crazy.
I mean, that was one of your guys in Auburn, played at Auburn. You were hoping Denver was going to win, and they did, and now they're in the conference finals. But
his backup's an Auburn guy.
Stidham was. That's right. I forgot
Stidham
about.
Was the Auburn quarterback in 2017 when Auburn blew Georgia out in Auburn, and then they had the rematch in Atlanta. And Georgia beat them. He's a good player, but gosh, I was thinking about that. He was a quarterback in 2017. He's been in the league almost 10 years. Only started like 5 games.
Yeah.
But I would not expect them to win under those circumstances with a backup quarterback.
It's very tough to do that.
And they're going to be playing a team that's.
The Patriots are playing lights out right now. It looks like to me a Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl, which will be a great game.
Oh yeah, what about the?
Hey, here's a fun fact for you.
All right.
Do you know the Seahawks head coach? His name.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
First, you know where his first job was? Cedar Shoals High School.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know that.
He was a running back and linebackers coach for 2 years at Cedar Shoals High School, 2008, 2009.
Never even played high school.
While he was enrolled at Georgia.
He never even played college football.
No, he didn't. He got hurt as a high school player. And then after he finished at graduated from Georgia. He worked as a graduate assistant under Mark Richt at Georgia, and then that launched his career getting into college and then eventually professional. So, but he got his feet wet coaching at Cedar Shoals High School right down the road.
How does that happen? How do you feel about guys that never played at the level they're coaching at? I mean, they're obviously people have been successful. That just seems like it'd be a weird dynamic.
It does seem weird, and it happens from time to time. I mean, I've seen it on various levels. Andy Landers was a great women's basketball coach, but he was not a college basketball player at all. And you look at Bruce Pearl's son. Was he a player at all?
I don't think he was.
So
I think Bruce Pearl wasn't a player.
Yeah. So, it can happen. I think sometimes these guys, they get so invested in the X's and O's and the strategy and the techniques. They learn all this stuff and they learn how to coach it, and they wind up being good coaches. You don't have to have done it to know how to teach others to do it.
Georgia's defensive coordinator didn't play college football, I don't think, did he?
Glenn Schumann? I really don't know. Yeah.
I just think with all the egos in football, there'd be a moment where, Coach, you didn't ever play. Shut up,
Well, the classic example, and I've talked about this, is my cousin Glenn Hardin, coached at Lincoln County High School for many years. He never darkened the door of a football team when he was in high school, and wound up had coached for 20 years at Lincoln County and had a great experience with it. New Hall of Fame Garrison Hurst was one of his players.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course,
college football.
maybe I could coach Garrison Hurst.
I probably could too. You probably would know this name, guy named Mike Garvin down at little Mount DeSales, little Catholic school in Macon. They won 3 state championships in the 70s. He coached Ben Zambezi and Johnny Henderson, Coach Henderson's son.
Yeah.
It was great. He never played. He was a math teacher, and just never got into coaching.
Well, I guess there's hope for you and I then. What do you think?
That's right. Like you said, we should have written down the list of the College Football Hall of Famers, but again, we could have probably coached Garrison Hurst.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So, conference finals, you got Patriots and Broncos, but both of us think the Patriots are going to win that game just because the Broncos with a backup quarterback. Seahawks and Rams. I'm pulling for the Rams. I'm a Matt Stafford guy. Hope they do it, but man, the Seahawks, they just look so good.
They did. I got it. I don't have any money, but if I did, I think I'd put it on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
The Seahawks.
And look at what, is it Sam Darnold, their quarterback? Mm-hmm. There's a guy whose career's been resurrected. I mean, he was with the Jets, is that right? And then he did okay with the Vikings, right?
Right.
And they turned him loose because they thought they had a better guy with the ex-Michigan guy, quarterback. And
well, I know you and I are big pro guys, but what about Buffalo firing their guy after that?
McDermott is a guy, if the Falcons had waited, let's get that guy.
Get him instead of the guy we got.
I mean, he's, it's like you get to the point you think, well, we can't win the playoff games. I got to do something. What am I going to do? I'm going to fire my coach.
Got to do something even if it's wrong.
Yeah, and he'll land on his feet. He's going to be somewhere else. What about Mike Tomlin? Where's he going to be?
I heard he's going to be at the University of Georgia. Yeah.
At least as an analyst or something.
That's right.
Who knows?
Him and Hines Ward, maybe.
Well, he's hanging around Athens a lot to see his daughter on the gymnastics team. They had a great win.
I saw that
last week against LSU.
And I guess that wasn't a Photoshop picture. He really was at the match wearing Georgia gear. Right?
Yeah. So I saw Bill Belichick at a Georgia basketball game years ago. So they both pass through this way from time to time. But Tomlin's the guy. Well, it's is Indiana? Is this a one-year wonder, or are they here to stay? That's going to be an interesting thing to look at going forward. I think as long as Cignetti's there, they're going to be a team to contend with. Now, will they be able to win the national championship again? It's going to be very difficult for teams to win back-to-back. They're too even. It's a shame Georgia didn't get that third championship in a row that year, losing to Alabama in the SEC championship like they did, and then not getting into the playoffs.
I agree with you. I think they'll be a team to be reckoned with for the next couple of years, but I don't foresee them, you know, it was a perfect storm in a lot of ways. I mean, you have the quarterback deal. I mean, but
yeah, they got Hoover, Josh Hoover. That's the guy they got coming in from TCU. He's transferring from, and he's a good quarterback. But I mean, Mendoza coming in was the same kind of deal. He's a good quarterback at Cal, but was he a world beater, a Heisman Trophy winner? They did something right with him.
Well, you know, we talk about Coach Dooley every once in a while. He used to say football is the ultimate team game, and it's so true. You know, even at the high school level. You know, how did Cam Newton's high school not win the state championship?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, but so my point is, you know, as good as Mendoza was, they had a lot of other pieces.
I tell you, they were one of the most complete teams I saw this year. Yeah. They really did not have a weak spot on the team. No weak links. Now, I noticed one thing interesting in the game. I wrote this down, that they played 35 players in the game. Only 35 players saw the field, whereas Miami played 53.
Well, see, that's what we talked about. You know, you talk about depth and you talk about the roster from top to bottom. Georgia may have the best roster in the country, top to bottom, this year.
Could have.
But Ole Miss can put 30 out there that can
beat
you.
That's right.
If you don't
That's right.
play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and the same thing you're talking about.
All right. Well, Jim, we want to come back maybe in spring and talk about a little spring football.
That's right. Two most important sports, football and spring football. Well, we saw Barbara Dooley the other night. We have to get a special political.
Well, I got her phone number, and I said I'm going to see if I can get her on the podcast next year. So we'll look forward to having her as a guest. And we had some great guests this year. You know, Josh Alexander, John Richt. We had David Weeks,
David
Perno. You know, we had some great guests. We'd like to get some more guests next year, and we'll see what we do. We had the reporters from the Oconee Enterprise and the Athens Banner Herald, and Russ Tanner was with us one week, and those are fun, and we'll try to do that as often as we can going forward next year. And so we got some things we want to accomplish, and we want to thank everybody who's taking some time to watch us and listen to us and comment on us and give us some feedback. And so we're just looking forward to a great year next year and bringing sidelines and headlines back.
And we're going to try to do a little better job promoting ourselves next year. We're looking at some partnerships with some folks, but we may have to have a special edition next week for the weather. Maybe we ought to do Saturday. Can you believe the weather? They're predicting
Well, we went to the grocery store today to prepare for Snowmageddon, you know.
Toilet paper and milk and all that. I'm just shocked that so many days in advance, everybody's acting like they're so sure we're going to have some bad weather. So y'all stay safe.
Yeah, that's right. Well, my wife said it's a long front, and so it's going to be like a 24-hour experience, and that we're going to have to endure, and so we'll just have to see how it comes out and everything.
Well, yeah, everybody stay safe. Go watch those back episodes of Sidelines and Headlines.
There you go. Well, we want to say God bless and good luck to you folks, and thanks for tuning in and listening to us and watching us throughout the year. And we're going to sign off now with a new national champion, Indiana Hoosiers. Hoosiers. I didn't even know that was a cheer until this year.
Well, next year about this time, we're going to be saying War Eagle again.
We'll see. All right, good deal. All right, Jim, enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it.
All right, sayonara.